Okay, so hi everybody. This is Mohammed Demirel from Demirel University. I'm a professor at Education Sciences Department. My research focuses educational technology. Specifically, I am working on educational game design and social media. Before starting our lecture, I would like to thank you for Tatiana for accepting my invitation to join my graduate class. So thank you so much, Tatiana. I would like to let you introduce yourself. Then maybe my students can introduce themselves. Then you may start your lecture.
Okay, great. So hello, everybody. My name is Tatiana Suvorova, and I'm from Ukraine, from Alfred Nobel University, and here to give you, so I'm associate professor at this university, and so generally I'm a specialist in linguistics. For that reason, today I give you the lecture on communication and effective techniques of communication. So you can introduce yourself. I'm glad to hear of you. So the students, yeah, you meant.
Okay. Let's start with Elif. Elif Ece, could you introduce yourself?
Maybe he can't hear us.
Yeah, she's here, but I don't know. Elif.
Maybe bad connection or whatever.
Maybe. Then Furkan, can you hear me? Could you introduce yourself?
Buradayım hocam.
Okay. Introduce yourself, Furkan.
Türkçe mi yoksa İngilizce mi hocam?
I would prefer in English.
Yani little English, little speak.
Okay, then no problem. Just introduce yourself. Your name, your university, your job, whatever.
Hello everyone, I am Furkan, surname Perçemkaya. I graduated psychological counseling. I made rehberlik yapıyorum hocam.
He's a counsel at middle and high school.
PDR bölümünden mezunum.
Yeah.
Rehberlik yapıyorum. Özel eğitim öğretmenliği yapmaktayım şu anda.
He's graduate from counseling education. From which university, Furkan?
Anlamadım hocam.
Hangi üniversite?
Mehmet Akif Ersoy Üniversitesi.
He was graduate from Mehmet Akif University from counseling education. He's teaching working as a counselor at middle school. So he's happy to join our lecture. Okay, the next one. Who is next one? Merve Karaağaç.
So don't be afraid. I'm listening attentively to you.
My students are shy.
Shy? Okay.
Merve, can you hear us?
Merhaba hocam.
Okay, Merve, Turkish and English. I can translate if you want.
Turkish.
Okay. This is Merve Karaağaç. Go ahead, Merve.
Sosyal bilgiler öğretmenliği mezunuyum.
Social sciences teacher. Okay.
Isparta'da yaşıyorum. Mehmet Akif Ersoy'dan mezunum.
In Sparta, she was graduate from Mehmet Akif University. Okay, thank you, Merve. The next one is Elif. Elif Ece, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi.
Hello.
I am Ece. I am a math teacher. I am a graduate student at Demirel University.
Okay.
Bu şekilde hocam başka.
Good job, Elif. That's enough for us. She was graduate from which university you were graduated?
I repeat after me, please.
Hangi üniversiteden mezunsun Elif?
I am graduated at 9 Eylül University.
Okay. She was graduate from 9 Eylül University in Izmir, one of the biggest cities in Turkey. Okay, thank you. Işıl, you are the next. Işıl.
Okay.
Hocam siz çevirin, ben anlatayım.
Okay. Işıl Demirbaş, okay, go ahead, Işıl.
Evet, PDR mezunuyum, psikolojik
She was also
danışmanım.
graduate from counselor education.
Evet. Akdeniz Üniversitesi'nden mezunum. Isparta'da yaşıyorum.
She was graduate from Akdeniz University in Antalya. She lives in Sparta.
Okay.
Evet. Bu kadar.
Antalya is famous for beaches, you know, Tatiana.
Okay.
Okay, who is the next? Tuğba, Merve Karaç, and Mert. Sorry, Mert, your turn.
Firstly, good morning to all in our timestamps. I'm Mert Tuğcan, as surname Dincer. I graduated from Ege University in 2021 as science and technology education teacher. Nowadays, trying to improve myself to become a lecturer in Süleyman Demirel University.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mert. The next one is Merve Karaç.
Hocam ben konuşmuştum ama
Okay, Merve, introduce yourself. The next one is Safet. Safet, could you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Safet. I am studying for a master's degree in computer and instructional technologies at Süleyman Demirel University. I graduated from Uşak University, Department of Computer and Instructional Technology Education. I live in Sparta.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Safet. Okay, those were my students. Thank you for your introductions. Okay, go ahead.
So that's great. Yeah, that's great. I'm so excited to start our lecture. And certainly, so that's a great pleasure for me to give the lecture for your students and for my as well, because my students are also present here. And I would ask my students to put pluses into the chat in order to fix that you are present here. And next time I will mark in the electronic register your presence. So please, my students, enter plus into the chat in order I could see that you are here. Okay, well, and meanwhile, during my lecture, if I ask you to participate, be interactive, okay, please mark something into the chat if I ask you, don't be afraid. Well, so as you can see today, it is a very nice time because we can shift from one place to another easily without any problems. And now I'm giving the lecture from Ukraine to your students. That's something unbelievable, but it is true. Well, let's start. So as you can see, the topic is effective techniques of communication. And certainly we will discuss special, first of all, terms. That is introduction. The second point, it is understanding the basic definition of communication, and certainly we will move to elements of communication process, and we will finalize with effective communication models. And before starting it, I would recommend you to take your favorite drink, cup of something, and have a pleasure while listening to my lecture. Okay. So when we speak about communication, nowadays, I suppose the term is quite clear to everybody because we use it so often in our modern life. And certainly it is connected with many things. And I'd like to start with the famous words by Shakespeare, all the world's a stage. And so while applying to our lecture, I would mention that all the world is a communication nowadays, because this process that values may be the same or equals by value to oil and gas of the 20th century. Nowadays, information and communication, it is even more valuable than gas and oil in the world, So thus, we can speak about all the world is communication in politics, in advertising, in declaring of love. So anything can be, Cats in social media. When you surf Facebook, you can see that here we can come across different cats and dogs, and we are very, very emotional about it, So everything nowadays, information and communication, it is what is quite valuable. So let's start with political communication and a little bit of examples and argumentation on really role of communication nowadays. So now you can see two famous American politics who are quite effective in their political communication, because they're not just, we don't hear what they are talking about, but we see that they are quite determined. They effectively use their gestures, their eye contact, and certainly they can sell their political ideas to the auditorium. Yeah. Or, for example, in advertising, we use also a little bit of communication. Just have a look at this board advertising a famous sports brand. I won't name it. You can see everything by yourself. But so you can see that this board catches our eye, and certainly we, by perceiving it, we have to form some attitude to it. And certainly this results in buying these things from that brand. Or, for example, the cats. So why have I used the cats in our presentation? Why do we need them? What function do they perform? Just the same function, to sell information. So the information which goes together with nice pictures of cats in some social media. So this information sells better because we react emotionally to this picture, and it catches our emotions, our hearts, and thus sells the words, the information, and it is the communication. Okay, so let's speak a little bit about the origin of the meaning of the term itself, because communication is the main term of our meeting today, and certainly we should be aware of the correctness of treating it, interpreting it. So, well, communication, and you can come across this usage of this word maybe in the same sounding or closer sounding, as you can see, communication, communication, communicatia in Ukrainian, and that is because it is quite an old word. It was derived from Latin, in fact, into English. It was originated to late Middle English and comes from Old French communication, from Latin communication, from the verb communicare. To share. Well, in fact, it's quite modern, meaning though it is quite old. And if we have to have a look at separate parts of the word, because it consists of two stems, com and munis. So com means common parts or something in common, some common interest in our case, and munis, it is people. So that's why we consider that communication, it is some group of people who are gathered by something common, some common interests in wide respect, certainly. So this word has the application in different spheres of knowledge. So let's have a look in details. So when we open the dictionary, and it's quite easy nowadays, you shouldn't go to the library and find some dictionary. You can go to online or social dictionaries, and can find the definition. Here it is. There are a lot of definitions, in fact, existing, because they cover different spheres and different activities in which communication is used nowadays. Well, first of all, communication between people, as you can see. So it is information interaction and exchange between them, some ideas, emotions, feelings, and so on. So secondly, it is interaction between animals, also is considered to be a biological aspect of this communication. Thirdly, communication between different objects, including ones of technical character. So, for example, technical nature. For example, now our computers communicate. So we have some signals, yeah, so transmitting from you to us, and your computers receive this signal, or maybe phones, yeah, smartphones. Okay, so then certainly we speak about some communication channels between different objects, that is, for instance, in our case, Wi-Fi, or maybe internet connection, yeah, and ways and means of physical communication between spatially separated objects as well. In our case, it is internet connection, and we communicate our machines, if I say so, yeah. So our gadgets communicate. Well, so thus, as you can see here, we can speak about communication in the most general term, and in this respect, we have some wide and narrow approaches to defining communication. So the ambiguity of the term itself depends on the spheres in which we use. So for that reason, sciences also use quite often this term communication, and we can cross this term in physics, mathematics, in logics, in linguistics, yeah, and certainly in IT technology, because nowadays it is artificial mind that is, the most important focus of investigation and study. Well, but generally we can divide into, roughly speaking, into two groups, technological and human dimension of communication. So here you can see that we can speak about transaction between people and some transaction of signals between some machines. And certainly in this respect, we shall speak about different definitions and different spheres of usage, and a little bit of different types of communication, in fact. So if we have a look at philosophical approach, because it is what certainly philosophy covers all other views, ideas, and gives us understanding of the world we are and our role in it. So certainly in this respect, communication is the process of social interaction, first of all, not between the machines, because machines cannot exist without people, in fact, yeah. So for that reason, it is something similar to communication between people, but first of all, communication appears between people and then can be transmitted or can be used like model for explanation different links and processes between other objects of reality. So in this respect, people invented different systems of communication. This is languages, because without the language, we cannot communicate. In our case, it is English right now, but languages can be different, artificial as well, as here you can see. So this is the language of salesmen. Yes, so they use different gestures, different flags also to communicate with each other. Okay, so also another quite important approach to communication is social psychological approach. So in this respect, when we have this painting of a famous artist, what do you think? Who communicates with us, to your mind? I will tell you, the picture or the artist? So the picture number one, the artist number two. Put down into the chat your ideas. One, the picture. Two, the artist. What's your opinion? So just quickly put down your opinion into the chat in order I could see your ideas. Okay, so in fact, I will give you the answer. So this painting cannot communicate because it's not a human being. Certainly it is the artist who communicates with the perceiver, yeah, of that, with the addresser to whom it is presented, yeah, this painting, these emotions expressed in painting. And certainly then, in this respect, communication appears to be, just a second, I will take off the chat from my eyes because I can see presentation. 1 second. Well, thank you for your ideas. And here it is. So in this respect, we should speak about communication as the movement of knowledge, emotional experience, volitional influence, in social time and space generating an effect. So let's discuss a little bit, pay attention to some knowledge. What's that knowledge? Knowledge is just information, general information. For instance, if I mention that tomorrow it is the 6th of November, just general information without anything. It's just knowledge. Yeah, we can see the calendar and we know. Well, emotional experience. So when I make a compliment to one of you, you can react somehow. For instance, you can become red, or you can become shy. Yeah, or you can smile at me. Yeah, so that is your emotional feedback to my words. Well, volitional influence, it is, if I mention that it's quite hot here, please open the window in order to feel the fresh air. So it is my volition for you to perform some action. And certainly it is time and space. So here it is, the space between us is social, because we have some social circle, academic circle, yeah, and we can communicate within this space, academic space. We don't have all people of the world here present, yeah, so we have just people who are interested in this communication today during my lecture. So for that reason, we speak about space and certainly time. So look, this painting was presented to public quite long ago, but we still feel the influence of it. Yeah, we react emotionally, we like or dislike it, yeah, and something like that. The same concerns, for instance, music. Certainly that these notes do not communicate with us. It is the author who created, this music communicates, given or transmitting some knowledge, some emotion, some volition. That he wants us to hear this music, and certainly produces some effect. Okay, and the next type, which is quite popular approach, it is general technological definition of communication. That is every day we use, because here we speak about different techniques, but the main thing to be mentioned here that communication is information interaction between people. That is the main, what we should keep in our mind. Then through signs, because we have agreed that English language, behind each word you hear, you understand some meaning. So that is the sign. It is the sign theory, because sign, it is the object, mental, intellectual object, which has exponent, that is presentation. So you can hear or you can read it. You can see or you can hear this form. Well, and meaning, certainly. So thus we speak with signs, using language signs, and using presentation and representational means. Presentation, it is, you can see that I have some gestures. You can see now my hands, for instance, or I can touch my hair, for instance. It is a presentational means, which are situational. They help us to communicate. They substitute our communication in order you could understand better my emotions, my attitude to you, and different types of additional information. Well, while representational means, these are language means, those which can exist without any situation. So fixed in dictionaries, for instance, you can read the word and the definition in the dictionary. Well, and they are distributed through certain channels. It is, now you can see, so it is visual channel, and you can hear, it is auditory channel. For that reason, it's better, because scientists proved that we perceive only 15% of information while hearing. It's better to have some visual, also, a picture. Well, and using selected code. In our case, you know the rules of grammar of the English language, and me as well. And while using these rules of grammar and you know the words, their meaning, you can reconstruct, interpret what I'm talking about, Okay, so thus finally, here it is, we have the final definition of communication in our respect, so for our purposes. So it is a process of social interaction, so that is between people, yeah, the essence of which is the exchange of coded information existing in sign from between social personalities, in social form of between social personalities, so that's between people. And thus, the questions here, why social interaction? So because we have agreed that communication can be only between people, they create this communication, and certainly communication between different artifacts exist, but due to people, you see, due to people who attribute these meanings, these communication models to objects of reality. Well, so between whom and whom? Between people, we agreed, yeah? Who are the participants of communication? So in fact, can be different objects of reality, but we speak only about human beings. Well, and why encoded? So that is because we have some information in our mind, and we need some means to present, to give the form of our thought or idea, to dress them in something and give to other human being in order to be understandable, yeah? So for that, we use the code language in our case and speak about communication. So here it is, we shall pay attention to information, sign, code, and coding. So first of all, information definition was proposed by Wiener, maybe you know, American, yeah, scientist, and he mentioned very nice term explanation. Information is information, not matter or energy, just nothing special, just information without any other details. Well, certainly it is used in applied understanding of information and in artificial languages, yeah, IT technologies. And here it is, information is a certain set of information that is the object of different collection processes, storage, and management. So certainly when we speak about information, also quite important, you know, you further will understand why we pay attention to these terms as well. Entropy, that is, entropy is characteristic of disorder, chaos of any complex system. So it is inevitable, you see, so it exists and nothing more. And when we speak about information, then we speak and taken into consideration entropy, that we have some maybe noises, so different obstacles to transmit our information and to produce communication. Then we speak about information as a quantitative measure of reducing uncertainty, you see. So that is when we have some chaos in our thoughts and ideas, and we use means, language means to lower this chaos, okay? So to lower this entropy. So thus information, it is lowering this level of misunderstanding. So the first person who introduced the signs as language, yeah, language signs, I mean, it was Ferdinand de Saussure in the end of the 19th century. And since this time, we consider that sign has twofold essence, the unity of exponent, form, and meaning. So it is, yeah, the sign. If we have just sign form, but without meaning, for instance, phoneme, for instance, f, s, k. So we don't have meaning after this, you see, forms. For that reason, they are not considered to be signs. Only morphemes, words, word combinations, sentences, these are signs in communication. Okay, so and the notion of sign here, it is the main thing to remember, that it is just substitution of our ideas, not full presentation, you see. So just partially, it substitutes some idea on our mind and presents. For that reason, we have problems in communication, because we have so a large volume of our thoughts in our mind, but we can present with limited number of signs of language means, and for that reason, not always successfully. Well, so coding and uncoding, so coding, decoding, yeah, and code itself with reference to information. Here it is, you can see that the same information is coded differently in different, now Roman numbers, Arabic numbers, and for instance, Babylonian. You see, for that reason, we can present different signs. The same information can be presented differently. Well, for that reason, we use such terms as code. So we choose Arabic numbers or Roman numbers, depending on the context, and we encode, so present some information in form, and decode, and the listener or reader decodes them, trying to reconstruct what it means, because it's quite important. So thus, while communicating, what happens? So we use some signs, we code information, and then we have some social change of this information. We shift this information to somebody, transmit and return back. Okay, so then let's speak about the diagram presenting the models of communication, because all terms we have covered already, important. And the first one, it is maybe the most general, which is used in linguistics. It is the model proposed by Roman Jacobson in the 20th century. It is a linguistic method of presenting communication, and he distinguished 6 important points in communication. That is context, which presupposes which means we should choose. For instance, you can address the same person as Tanya, for instance, or mother, or for instance, professor, and it is one and the same personality, but different, you use different codes. Due to situation. For my family, I'm mother. For my students, I am professor. For maybe just my friends, Tanya, and so on. You see? So then you are the sender, and you have something on your mind, some ideas, and create message using the code. So you know language, you know rules of combining and creating words, and you create some message and transmit it due to some channel. So now you hear me and see me. So I transmit my information via visual and auditory channels. Well, and receiver, that is you in our case, who are listening to me, and trying to reconstruct what I'm talking about. Okay, so here it is. We shall speak about different modes of communication. It is one of the most general, but there are a number of them, quite important, and they are different by their so the quantity of elements and certainly the effectiveness of those models. So, but generally, we shall speak about subject interaction between human, mediated interaction. So use some media. So in our case, we use internet in order to communicate, because without it, we cannot communicate. Well, effective interaction, whether it is quite effective, whether you hear me nice, you understand me nice, and so on and so forth. And synchronous or diachronous interaction, that is in time. We can record the lecture and you can listen to it or watch to it later, And synchronous is just right now, being present my lecture and listening live lecture. Well, so the most important models, they are Aristotle's, Laswell's, Berlour model, Shannon-Weaver model, Esgut-Schramm model, and Deflas model. So let's come to the first one and the most ancient one, which was proposed by Aristotle. And I suppose you know that he is an ancient thinker, and philosopher, and he proposed the next model, rhetorical model, because mostly he wanted to convince the audience doing something, to produce some effect emotional on audience. So here it is. He spoke that we deal with speaker, the person who should communicate. Then this speaker prepares specific speech, because we should choose the most effective means of communication in order to influence people and make them do something. So the audience who listens, perceives, and the effect, so the audience should react somehow, to perform some action. How about the example? So in our case, Alexander, so also historical personality, he is the speaker. The speech about the invasion of Persia. So occasion, it is the situation due to Aristotle in which the speech is performed or conducted. So it is the speech on the battlefield. So right on the battlefield in order to be more convincible, So audience, warriors, and the effect, it is the result of this speech, it is to inspire the army and defeat the Persia. And it was performed. Well, so the next model, so Aristotle's model is one of the simplest ones. The next model was proposed by Laswell. It's quite famous in America because he worked on political, in the political field, and he introduced developed and then introduced his model during the World War the Second, and it was quite effective. So here it is, 5W model. You can see that communication denotes who says, what channel uses, by what channel, to whom, and with what effect. Nearly the same idea expressed by Aristotle, but maybe a little bit elaborated. Well, the next one, it is the model Barlow's CMCR model, because here it is, you see, source, message, channel, and receiver. SMCR, you see, so the initial letters. So it is well known by this name, Stanford model, because it is the place where it was created, Stanford University. So as you can see, it is quite elaborated because he added additional points. So the main thing is that source, it is the speaker, from the viewpoint of Aristotle, and the speaker should take into consideration such factors. Have a look. Culture while speaking, because so it depends whether if we're well known about culture, have enough knowledge about some culture, we are more effective in communication because so we know the colors different, what they mean, and so on and so forth. Well, in this or that culture, social system, certainly it is dependent on social ranks, to whom you are talking, it depends, so to the queen or to the just, I don't know, your child, it depends which sources and which means you use, which units of nominative units you use. Well, certainly knowledge, general knowledge, what you are talking about, and attitude, showing or maybe demonstrating the attitude. So now you can see that I'm quite friendly to you, I'm smiling while speaking. So for that reason, you feel my attitude that I'm glad to see you. I say for that reason, you are glad to be at my lecture, I suppose, And communication skills, also quite important. So, well, returning to this model, the next one, it is message, which is also taken into consideration. And here it is. So we have a number of such models presentations, because maybe focusing on this or that part of the model. Well, so here it is, as you can see, also quite important, the content, the elements, the treatment, the structure, the code. So everything is connected with the coding, so with the language of communication we choose. In our case, it is English language. Channels, here are illustration, because when we return to this model, here are just words denoting, and here are the pictograms which can react or work better with your memory. So here it is different channels, as you can see, visual, auditory, and so on and so forth. And and the receiver, so perceives everything with this, with these channels. But so it's very nice, but all the models counted above, they are considered to be monologous. That is one way. Yeah, but communication usually, as now it is understandable that we have two-way communication. So I ask you to react, yeah, somehow to the painting and answer to my question, and you reacted, you put some ideas into the chat. It is a reaction, and I can see, I can adjust my communication with you better, you see, because I see your reactions, and for that reason I adjust my communication maybe a little bit in other way. Well, let's move to another model. It is Shannon-Weaver model, which was proposed by Shannon, an American mathematician. Certainly, models usually are proposed by mathematicians because they have some specific skills, yeah, of listening, of thinking, of reasoning. Well, and Weaver Warren, American mathematician as well, and they together worked on Bell's telephone company, developing some model and trying to understand the problems of communication also during the Second World War, and so they introduced such model. Here you can see not only the source, the speaker in our understanding, but in code has communication. Somebody smiles at lecture and somebody doesn't, yeah? So for that reason, well, certainly channel, message, but noise appears. Quite important, this noise, it means that we deal, here it is a little bit improved model, because they worked for some years on this model and presented different types of this model. And you can see that noise is quite important thing here. That means that, for example, I'm good at English, but you are not, for instance. So for that reason, you cannot understand me clearly, you see? So that is the noise which is the obstacle for you to understand me, you see? So for that reason, this noise can be of different type. Receiver and destination. Receiver, it is you who are hearing, yeah, and destination, it is so this social space in which we are communicating, academic space in which we are communicating and meeting today. Well, so this model, as you can see, has one law. Yeah, so it is here, not law, but flaw, sorry. So it is mistake, yeah, not mistake, in our understanding it is mistake because it's not full. Here it is added already due to nowadays understanding of communication feedback. But because if you transmit some information, it's not, it has some purpose, you see, you should have some feedback in order to react, yeah, somehow. Well, for that reason, here it is. The model is simplified, but more important that that model contains the mechanic noise, different noises. They are classified to mechanic. For instance, we have bad internet connection and you can't hear me well, yeah, or see me well, and so that's the noise for you. And semantic noise, it is you can't understand because maybe so you can't interpret correctly what I'm talking about. Well, the next model, it is the model presented by Osgood and Schramm, quite known and quite important, because here it is, as you can see, they have already this interaction, so this circulation of information, yeah, from they called it encoder because the person encodes, yeah, so for first of all using code, encodes the message, then creates the message, and this side decodes this information, and not only decodes, so you hear my language, you hear that I'm speaking English, but you should interpret, yeah, interpret what you hear, not just hear, you should interpret what it means. For that reason, this category is very important here. And then again, encoding, yeah, the answer to my, yeah, some reaction to my speech, and sending me the message, you see, also coded. So in our case, you coded your message via figures 2 and 1, as I asked you, yeah, not words, but just figures, mathematical figures, and we interacted. Okay, so here it is. As you can see, it is more elaborated model, and it was proposed, it was the first time that it was not just linear from the sender to receiver model, but also it is two-way model, yeah, and we see here circulation, so it is a circular model. Well, so as you can see, it is better. Here it is, yeah, maybe presented. So to draw a line under different models, yeah, of communication, I would mention that generally we distinguish 3 types of modes of communication existing, yeah, nowadays. So one way, Aristotle's model, yeah, so it is the easiest way. For example, you send the message to someone and that's all. You are not interested in the reaction. So politics usually do so. They just use propaganda and they are not interested in reaction. So what we are thinking about their speeches, yeah. So that reason it is also effective means of communication, but for some people. So two-way communication. It is right here that I ask you to react to my words and you react. It is two-way communication. And transactional communication, it is when I speak and you speak to me as well, you see? So it's not just here within the lecture, it's maybe within the workshops, yeah, when we can communicate and I can hear you, you can hear me, and we can exchange our ideas and thoughts. Well, so as far as you can see, so the complexity of communication lies in the spheres, yeah, in the categories which we apply to communication. But nevertheless, here it is, the last one model, which is interactive, is the most full model, which is considered nowadays presenting communication. Yeah, and nevertheless, when we speak about communication between people, we should use some effective communication techniques. And now I will present 8 of them. And at the end of this presentation, you tell me which model you use mostly, okay? Amongst those 8. So first one, it is whatever words we utter should be chosen with care, for people will hear them and be influenced by them for good or ill. Buddha. So these words of Buddha, they illustrate the first principle of effective communication, that we should choose the words correctly, yeah? So we shouldn't choose something specific if we don't know the addressor, you see? So just be simpler in order and precise to the topic, yeah? And it'll be one of effective communication techniques. So the second technique, words that are carefully framed and spoken are the most powerful means of communication there is. So in this respect, we can speak about 3 types of communicators. Well, here are. So the first, benefits of effective communication. We have leads to the right information being shared, yeah, and minimize conflict. And costs of poor communication. So we can send messages, send letters, and have no reaction, yeah? So that is maybe because we have chosen the not correct channel, or not correct code, or not correct sender, yeah? So something, or maybe so language of communication. And we have poor communication. Okay. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. So when I speak to you, I think that communication exists, yeah? But it can happen so that you do not understand me. And in this respect, when a woman is just crying, yeah, shouting at, and her husband cannot understand a word. So no communication, you see? She speaks, but he doesn't react because he has no idea what's that all about, yeah? So for that reason, be attentive. So when you feel misunderstood, being so caught up in what you have to say, So that you are aware that reaction of your listener. So pay attention to reactions. Yeah, so you should, the model should be interactive. You send the message, you should receive the message, you see? Okay, yeah, so, and certainly you should drill your communication skills. Here it is. Is the key to any successful relationship going wrong. Certainly, when you do not practice, you lack of eye contact, yeah, or for instance, have poor posture, find it difficult to say no, avoid conflicts. So that's not good, you see. So it is passive communicator. Sometimes it is good. So now you are passive communicators. For me, it's good. You are just listening, and so no protest to me. Well, aggressive communicator. So always makes demands. Yeah, asks questions and blaming, and so on and so forth. So I suppose you all yeah, met such people. And positive, that is what is expected from us. So we use I statement, yeah, while addressing people and making judgments. We speak only about ourselves. So maintain good eye contact, learn to say no, and so on and so forth. So you can see all these, yeah, points here accounted, and certainly these express their needs and feelings in respectful way to the listener. Well, that is what you should do. So the fifth, listen with the intent to understand, not to intent to reply. Yeah. So when you are listening, try to hear what the person speaks about. What's the problem? What's the purpose of this communication? Not because you would like to tell about yourselves. Just listen to, and here are some maybe recommendations. So pay attention, give the speaker your individual attention, show that you are listening. So you should react, not just, nodding the head, but also participating. So, and give feedback, it's very important. Well, to effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive the world and use this understanding as a guide of our communication with others. Robbins. Well, yeah, right you are. So here it is. The words, the statements that will help you understand what to do in order to effectively communicate. So you can read them. I can send the slides for your students and they can just read again, this presentation, because so much information, but the main point is here that we're all different and we should be aware of this fact while communicating. So don't demand from the listener that everything is clearly understandable. Try to express your thoughts and ideas clear to first plan your communication, and then start communicating. So this picture illustrates very nice this technique, which will help you to deal with difficult conversations, especially. So first plan what you should mention, talk about, in which words you should talk about, and then start speaking without any obstacles, because certainly you will achieve the result because you have some plan of conversation. And so emotions are one of the main things that are derail communication. So they just sometimes influence our communication, not in the better way. And for the result of communication is what? Can you guess? Can you guess what's the word here hidden? Maybe into the chat. If you have any ideas, please put down into the chat your idea. What's that? What is the main purpose of communication? to your mind? And certainly it is the result of communication. Any ideas? So, okay, so I will give you the answer. It is feedback. Yeah, so when you communicate, certainly when you start communication, you are going to receive some feedback, positive or negative, but it should be. When there is no feedback, so it is the worst thing of all, you see, because negative feedback gives you opportunity to correct your communication, improve your communication skills. Yeah, when you are successful, then it's nice. So you have nice feedback, but you have no feedback. That's bad communication. That's lack of communication, in fact. Yeah. So and thus now I ask you to put down one of the 8 techniques which you mostly use in your communication. Please, I will just return back and refresh your memory. It is here. It is, we should choose correct words. Yeah, clear mind. Then carefully frame. So use correct syntactical formulas. Yeah. Then certainly we should have not illusion of communication. Yeah, we should watch the speaker's reaction, whether not speakers but receivers reaction. Yeah, whether she reacts or not. Yeah, to our communication. So check. Yeah, this. Then practice communication. We shouldn't be afraid of speaking. Yeah, and thus. Listening skills develop. We should be good listeners for effective communication. Then we should what? We are different. We're all different and should be aware of this fact. Yeah, while communicating, presenting different culture background, different national background, different educational background, everything. We should plan our conversation. Yeah. So, and certainly we should give feedback always. You should give feedback, you see. So now I'm waiting for your feedback. So which of these techniques do you use mostly? Put down, please, into the chat. Well, and meanwhile, I'm finalizing while I'm waiting for your answers, so that having completed this module, my lecture, listening to my lecture, you, I suppose, are familiar now with the models of communication, with the term of communication, with the efficient techniques of communication. And I suppose you liked my lecture. If yes, then put plus, please, into the chat if you liked my lecture. So I'm waiting in the chat for your reaction. Okay, so now I'm opening the chat. I can see pluses. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me. And thank you for your attention. I suppose now you will be successful in your communicative techniques. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana, for the great lecture. I really enjoyed your lecture. It was very informative and sophisticated lecture. Thank you so much. I also would like to ask you about sharing your presentation. Maybe I may share with my students that they may look at more in depth to your presentation.
Yes,
thank you so much. So I have a question for you. You know, nowadays we are living a social media era. So I was wondering how social media affects the way we communicate. Is it ruining our face-to-face communication? What do you take on this, Tatiana?
Okay, thank you for the question. Very interesting question, because nowadays we are all in social media. Yeah, yes. Even now we are sitting and it's not face-to-face communication, though it is like, you see, imitation of face-to-face communication. It seems to me that there are positive and negative sides of it. Certainly, we are better communicators now because it's easier to communicate, and we can try different techniques of communication while developing our style in communicating. But on the other hand, yeah, so it is certainly maybe lack of this eye contact, of these sincere emotions which we feel, because emotions, this feedback, emotional feedback, certainly
Yes.
we should give our words, feedback in words and so on and so forth. Maybe emoticons, they substitute a little bit our emotional, this emotional intellect. Yeah, but nevertheless, it really, we should develop our emotional intellect as well. And it is what is made in face-to-face contact, not just via.
How about emojis? Can emojis replace our emotional feedback? What do you think about?
Yeah, I think the emojis, they develop our imaginations and connection associations, so associative thinking, yeah, or reasoning, because we are trying to find appropriate emoticon, yeah, emoji to present our emotion, and it is good in fact, but in this respect we do not react with our muscles, you see, because for our health it's quite important to use our emotional muscles. So we should always train, not only doing sports, but also smiling, yeah, expressing positive emotions. And it is good for our health because our mind understands that it is an emotion when our muscles participate in expressing, them. It is a problem. But nevertheless, there is a good side that we develop our thinking, reasoning. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. Any questions from my students or your students to Tatiana?
Okay, I suppose my students they are too young to put questions because they, or maybe if they have, I can,
They can write. Or...
I mean, they are the first year students, for that reason, maybe for them theoretical.
If you have any questions.
Yeah, early, but nevertheless, maybe other questions. No
questions.
Okay, so then.
All right. Thank you so much, Tatiana, for this great lecture. I really appreciate your time. I hope in the next coming semesters, you also come and join to my my graduate courses and deliver the lectures again. Thank you so much.
With pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. And you know that I invite you also to give a lecture for my students. Yes. They would be glad to hear something from you. For that reason, only with pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, we will keep in touch and then I will let you know about the details of the lecture. All right, thanks so much, everybody. Okay, have a great day. Yeah, have a great day. Have a nice day. Thank you for this emotional feedback. Bye. Yeah, bye.